Hi, I'm Rory, aka Montford Tales, and I'm going to walk you through how you play the Almanac of Sanguine Paths. The Almanac of Sanguine Paths is a GM-less tabletop role-playing game for 1 to 2 players. You play as werewolves who've received a mysterious book. You don't know who has sent this to you or why, but you quickly realise 2 things about this book. 1, it gives you a way to write to other werewolves, and a problem shared is a problem halved. And 2, there's more to this book than meets the eye. During the game, you write letters to each other, and you go about your lives having adventures as werewolves. You'll discover things about the book, about yourself, and you can influence the direction of each other's stories through the letters that you write. You achieve this by drawing tarot cards, developing your assets, more about those in the second video, and answering journaling prompts. The Almanac of Sanguine Paths is fully compatible with Dead Letter Society, my other game, so if you played that, you're pretty much on top of all of the things I'm going to talk about in this video. This video series is going to go step by step through everything in the game. It isn't a replacement for the rules, it's complementary to it, but it should give you a good idea of what's going on. Each video represents one chunk of playing the game, from setting up a game and the world to play in, this video, to building a character, the gameplay loop, and an example of playing the game itself, where we'll go through everything and you can see it in practice. This video talks about how you set up a game, set expectations for the game, and finally build a world for you to play in. You don't need much to play this game. You need 1 or 2 players, the rulebook, somewhere to record information about your character and take notes, a way to exchange letters, which can be snail mail, email, Discord, whatever, and a tarot deck, or a way of generating some random numbers so you can use the rule tables at the back of the book. It's important to set expectations between players before you sit down to begin a game, any game, really. And if you have a strong idea for the type of game you want to play, or you're using the pre-generated setting and characters, you can skip a lot of this video, but it's still a good idea to know what you both want from this game. Talk about the style of game that you want to play. What subjects are you comfortable with that you want to see lots of? And what are you not comfortable with that you just don't want to see at all in the game? The style of game you can play with the Almanac of Sanguine Paths is completely open to you. If you want to play a gory, grisly, angst-filled game, you can. On the other hand, you can also play a game about atonement or finding a cure or protesting against the establishment. They aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. The important thing is to know that it's what you both want. Let's start making something. I'm going to set up a game for me playing solo, which is what I'm going to use during the example video at the end of the series. If you're doing this with 2 players, you do this together. You talk to each other, you work through it together, and if you have any differences in what you'd like to see in the game, you need to talk about it and resolve them somehow. Rock, paper, scissors is always a viable option. I feel like a game about protest and being on the edges of human society. In particular, I'm drawn to the modern day, give or take a decade, and thinking about the impact of modern technology, environmental changes and concerns, and the surveillance state. I'm going to base my game in London because I know it somewhat well, so it's a good fallback location for me. I'm going to say that 1 month between letters is a good amount of time for the game that I want to play. It gives my werewolf a bit of time to build up their plans and they're not constantly just reacting to events that are happening too quickly. I want to play something a little longer, but with an end. I like being able to pace myself, and although it's tempting to keep playing until it feels right to stop, I always have a more impactful time if I know how many letters I have left to send in the game. I'm going to pick a 6-letter game so that my story has space to breathe, but it will end. And as it's just me playing this game, I'm not going to worry too much about the length of the letters I send. They can be as long or as short as they need to be. So now I have the foundations for the world and I have a reasonable idea of what sort of game I want to play. Next, I'm going to flesh it out in 3 stages. 1, what do werewolves do in this game? What kind of features or traits do we have? 2, what's humanity like? And how do we, werewolves, feel about them? And 3, what's the werewolf society like? How are we as a people? And what sort of questions am I going to be asking myself as I play through this game? I pick 4 words from the werewolf traits list, and then I decide what they mean and whether they're good or bad. The words that I choose are restless, fury, hunger, and smell. 2 of these are going to become positive traits, things that we as werewolves think of in a good light. And 2 of them are going to become negative traits, things that we do not like about ourselves that we consider part of our curse. So let's start with the positive. Fury. It's very easy for us to get riled up. We're passionate about things, we care deeply about certain things, and we're not afraid to show it. And when we get angry, we get reckless, but we get results. Smell. Our sense of smell tells us more about the world than any of our other senses. And it's really hard for humans to deceive us because we can literally smell guilt on them. And now the negative. Hunger. The lure of a fresh kill is always there at the back of our minds, tempting us. And our fury and our sense of smell really don't help matters. There's this urge to hunt that we cannot suppress. And restless. Staying in one spot feels confining. We're meant to roam, to explore and expand, and it makes it really hard for us to hold down jobs and friendships and a home because it all feels like a trap. Again, I pick 4 words from the humanity list and I assign them to be good or bad according to how werewolves view them. I pick technology, environmentalism, social order, and activism. Let's start with the positive. Technology. The rate of new inventions is increasing exponentially. And whenever humans see a problem to solve, someone somewhere tries to invent a solution for it. And activism. Some humans are really switched on to the problems of the world, and they're not afraid to shout about it. And what's better is they have even greater numbers than we do. Now the negative. Environmentalism. So humans want a less polluted future, but their governments continually overlook the impending environmental catastrophe in their search for corporate profits. And the magnitude of the situation has completely passed them by. And social order. Humans have given up too many rights, which has led to a surveillance state. They will happily report their neighbour for a minor annoyance because they think it's for the greater good, and I don't see how far down the slippery slope they already are. Once more, I pick 4 words, but this time I am not saying whether they are good or bad. I'm looking back at everything I've said so far, and I'm deciding on a question that I'm going to answer during my play. I choose self-sufficient, loneliness, hedonistic, and self-control. Self-sufficient. There aren't many of us, and we move around a lot. We always have a bag packed, ready to go, and we never depend on anyone. So my question is, what happens when my life depends on the actions of a human? I don't know the answer right now, we'll find out. Loneliness. It's hard to make a connection to another person. So my question is, how do I stop pushing people away? Hedonistic. If we're not going to be here long, we may as well enjoy ourselves. No one paints the town red like a werewolf. But what happens when the consequences come back to bite me? And self-control. The fury we feel deep inside is easily brought to the surface, and when we lose control, people get hurt. Will I ever care? Or are the results worth hurting other people? So now I have a good idea of the background to the game I want to play. There's just one thing left. What does my almanac look like, and how do I exchange letters? For the example, I'm going to play a solo game using a variant called They Never Reply. It means I'm going to be writing letters, but I'm never going to get a response to them. And I think the most perfect almanac for that, in the setting that we've described here, is a monthly magazine that keeps dropping through my letterbox. I never subscribe to it. I've never told them where I live. I've tried moving, but every time the first of the month rolls around, there's the magazine. And of course it's called the Like and Subscribe. In the magazine there's the letters to the editor section, and that seems like a good place to aim the letters that I'm writing. That's all for this video. See you in the next one for making a character.